What's up, YouTube? Back at you with another video, another quick take. I got my main man, my partner, my brother here.
That's right. And if you don't know, well, you already know. Thanks for having me again, bro.
Yeah, so we've got an article courtesy of USA Today, which says several people detained after fight breaks out at Montgomery's Riverfront Park in Alabama. The article goes on to say that the Montgomery Police Department responded to a disturbance at the 200 block of Coosa Street in Montgomery, Alabama at 7 p.m. after a large group of people were fighting. Several people were detained, police said. A video of the incident, which appeared to be racially divided, was shared Sunday on social media. It's been reported that it began because of a pontoon boat was blocking dock space needed to park a riverboat. That area is the regular spot reserved for the Marriott 2 riverboat. One short video posted on social media by Josh Moon of the Alabama political reporter shows several white people fighting a single black man who, according to Jasmine Williams of the WSFA, is a dock worker. The only audio heard is from witnesses yelling, but it appears to begin with an argument between the black man and one of the white men. Another white man rushes and hits the black man, who backs up, tosses his hat into the air, then the fight begins in earnest. And several white people began hitting the black man. So basically, they tried to jump him. It says during the video, one witness apparently watching from the riverboat screamed repeatedly, "Y'all help that brother," to onlookers who were on shore. It appears some people from the shore did join in to defend him, and the video shows at least one black man dive into the water from the riverboat. "Get up there, young buck," yelled another voice on the video. By the time the swimmer climbed up onto the dock, about a minute into the video, most of the altercation appeared to be over in Moon's video. A separate video posted by Lauren shows scenes after that as the Harriet was preparing to dock. A group of people approached the pontoon boat and more fighting broke out. At least one person fell into the water from the dock. Authorities were soon on the scene and police began taking people into custody. It says authorities have not released the names of the detained suspects. Charges against anyone involved in the fight are pending. Now, I just want to give my thoughts real quick before you give yours. And
Yeah,
mine
yeah.
are pretty much, simple and, pretty brief. So when I saw this on Twitter and on Instagram, my thoughts were I was happy to see that people actually stepped in to defend a black man that was getting jumped, because we see a lot that when those things happen, no one ever intervenes. Most people always pull their phones out, but no one ever, ends up doing anything. Now, I see this situation much bigger than other people do. Because I'm looking at it like, if black people were to look out for each other in America from a political standpoint, from an economic standpoint, from a social standpoint, and a literal standpoint, just like this, then our situation in America would be completely different, and black people would be like a serious force to be reckoned with. Now, for anybody that's been on my channel for a long time, you'll know that I've been a real advocate for like black, solidarity and black love. And what I mean by that is we always sit and talk about reparations, what politicians are doing and not doing, but I'm a firm believer in it costs nothing for black people to love each other and to look out for one another and to see ourselves in the next black person. So those black people that jumped in and got involved and defended him is because they saw themselves in him. You see what I'm saying? And that's what pushed them into action. And we need more of that. My biggest issue now is that I don't want this to be something that people just find entertaining and that is something that we laugh at and make a joke out of, when really this is a pure example of what we really need to be doing. Because there are so much things that are happening to black people in this country, and the way that we can prevent, mitigate, and deter those things from happening in the future is if the people that are doing things against black people know that we got each other's back. So you're not going to just attack one of us and then we're just going to let that shit ride. No, if you attack one of us, that means you're attacking all of us. You feel what I'm saying? And yeah, those are pretty much my thoughts on that, man. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. I'm gonna have a little fun just for a second. I see I see some of the comments that people are saying. that black people turned into Michael Phelps, the Mike Tyson, the Bobby Lashley, gave him a WWE style ass whooping. I know one dude pulled out a chair, hit one of the other white dudes with it. And all jokes aside, the reason why at first we wasn't gonna do a quick take on this, but the reason why I got so pumped up, and it wasn't because of the fighting. It was more so this is the stuff me and you have talked about since the pandemic, when Antifa happened, George Floyd, and all this stuff, the protests. This is what we're talking about: black unity. Black people stand up for each other. And I think, in defense to some people who are joking about it, I think some people are joking about it is because we don't really see this happen often. Most times, like I said, in the video, there's a lot of people on top of the balcony recording. They're not helping. They just recording. And they was recording it when the black dude, the black worker was getting jumped. So I think some people are having fun with it. I agree with you. This shouldn't be this laughing stock, But in defense, I think because we have not been united in a long time, seeing something like this happen, especially in Alabama, which I'm sure there's still a lot of racist people down there.
Oh yeah.
You don't really see that, and shout out to those people who, Black Aquaman, people are dubbing him, the media's calling him, all those people who came to that man's defense. And I want to address them because I also see a lot of people saying they took it too far. They didn't have to do all that. Because some women got jumped in the process, white women that got jumped. And, in one hand, yeah, I do feel bad for the woman who was trying to break it up. But again, when you're a black man getting jumped by a bunch of white dudes or just white people you don't even know, and as the women who's trying to break it up, they should read the situation. Most people need to read the situation. Don't jump into a lion's den trying to break up a fight when everybody's emotionally charged and trying to defend themselves. So I don't think they took it too far, and I wonder what the police is going to do, because I don't think any black person should get charged for what happened. This would have never happened if those white dudes didn't take it upon themselves, which I'm sure they did, because they saw him by themselves. And they looked at it like, oh, nobody's around. We're going to beat him up.
Yeah.
And we're going to walk away. And truth
probably would have gotten off scot-free too. If nobody jumped in, and then it was like, white cops that showed up, they would have gotten off scot-free if no one intervened. And maybe it probably could have been worse for the black man. What would have I'm like wondering what would have happened if no one showed up for him.
Exactly my point. And I was saying that one of my other buddies, we was talking about it right before we started recording, and he was saying that he was like, yeah, maybe they took it just a little too far with the chair shots and stuff, but at the end of the day, look, did they take a little too far? I don't know. Me personally, I don't think so. Again, they used the situation. They saw this man by himself who was just trying to do an honest day of work, just trying to do his job, and they beat him up. And he could have been concussed. They're right by the water. What if this man would have been knocked unconscious and he fell in the water? He would have drowned. So I look, shout out to all those people that came to that man's defense. I don't care if it was 5 against 30 black people. You should have thought about those consequences when you beat them up. And like I said, I see a lot of people, lambasting, the black people for jumping in and helping him.
Yeah, but are those people even black though? They're probably
I don't think
not.
so.
Because here's my thing. You can't, it's a 50-50 situation. I look at it like it's a stalemate. All right. Because if you don't start nothing, it won't be nothing.
Won't be nothing.
So if you got to look at who started it. See, a lot of times the people that are getting mad at the black people, those are the types of people that always focus on the last thing that happened. And those types of people rarely ever look at the ones who started it in the first place. So if, let's say, I'm being, lambasted, or I'm being, abused, yelled at, or whatever, and then I slap the person because they said something, like super crazy to me, it's like people are only going to ever want to focus on me slapping him. They're not going to focus on what pushed me to that point. So I hope that's the rationale that's a part of, the investigation that the police are doing. So hopefully they look at it like, look, they started it. The black people finished it. No one's really at fault. It's just a stalemate situation. Right. And me personally, these black people are pulling out chairs and hitting them and stuff like that, because you got to understand, like, Alabama is a racist, state. It's a racist area. Montgomery, Alabama. It's like when you hear about civil rights and stuff like that, I'm pretty sure Montgomery, Alabama pops up a lot.
Exactly.
In that whole narrative. So, and you got to look at their mentality getting into the situation, because I'm pretty sure these white people are racist. So they're looking at it like, yo, we don't know what y'all would have done to that black man if we didn't show up. They were probably throwing M-bombs, or they probably were thinking that in their head, especially if you're dealing with a black man that was only trying to do his job. You see what I'm saying? So they were pissed off. So they were grabbing chairs. I don't knock them for that, because like I said, the statement, I feel like this is really a statement, or this could be a statement to America if we look at it that way, or if we make it so. But it's not really going to be that if we're too busy laughing and making memes about it, on Twitter or X, is what it's called now.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you a question, because this is how I found out. I told you the Breakfast Club did a segment on it, but they had a question. They did a whole thing with people calling, and they asked this question. So I'm gonna ask you this: if you was in that situation, if you was one of those people on the boat who watched this happen, would you have jumped in, or would you have just tried to calm down the situation, or not get involved?
So, I mean, you know me, man. I like to fight. So that brawl looks kind of fun. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, if there was a way that I would be able to, like fight and not get in trouble, yeah, I would have gotten involved for sure. I don't have a lawyer, on speed dial. So if the fucking cops, were to arrest me and shit like that, I have to call my parents. And so, but I definitely would have gotten involved, because think about it this way, man. Think about the amount of black lives that could have been saved in the last 10 years if we had this sort of intervention a lot. Like, think about it, with Jordan Neely, a couple of months ago. Think about if those types of black people were on that train, they would have saved his life. Think about the Eric Garners, the Sandra Blands. Their lives could have been saved if we had black people that were there to protect them in those types of situations. This is why I say this is a statement or this could be a statement. You can't just, do what you want to black people, and then all we're going to do is just stand there, record, and then talk about it on social media, in mourning of that person's life. No, we are going to start looking out for each other now. I'm not saying that every single time we got to beat somebody up or pull out chairs and whoop some ass. But if we have to do that, we're going to do that on some Malcolm X. Like, we're not out here trying to be violent, but if violence is the only option, then we're not going to hesitate to, take that option, to use it. And we shouldn't have to, but if that's what we got to do, that's what we got to do. Because I've always said all the time, like, the only time like black people ever want to come together is like, in mourning of a black person dying, or Black Panther. You know what I'm saying? And I look at like Wakanda as like something that could really exist. That is an example of who we could really be in real life if we just started to look at each other as like the same tribe. Yeah, we might have different cultural differences, different, like religious beliefs and all of that shit, but we're all still one people. We're all still fucking black at the end of the day. That's why I just see the situation so much bigger than what it is, because it's like I've been waiting for a moment like this for a very long time. And Tupac has a song called I Wonder If Heaven Got a Ghetto. And in the song, he has a lyric that says, just think if niggas decide to retaliate. You see what I'm saying? And when I saw that, I was like, yo, I thought about that. When he was like, yo, just think if niggas finally decide to retaliate, this is what it looks like. So it doesn't mean, yo, we hate y'all. It just means we're not going to tolerate you doing whatever it is that you want to do to us. Now we're going to start looking out for ourselves. So if I was like, if I had a bigger microphone, this is what I'd be saying. I'd be saying, yo, yeah, it is funny. I guess you can call that black kid who was swimming the Black Aquaman and stuff like that. But let's look at it like, yo, this is what we need to do. This is the protocol now. So when you see a black person going through it, you step in and you help them. I think at the same time, like, they're like, recording a situation has its place, because what would have happened if, let's say, nobody recorded that, or let's say if the white people jumping the black man wasn't recorded? Yeah. Then it's he say versus she say. You see what I'm saying? So there's no way to really prove that, yo, they were jumping this black man. So we had a legitimate reason to step in and get involved, because if we didn't, we don't know what would have happened to him. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think, again, like, entertainment has its place, recording has its place, but we really need to focus on, bringing it all in like a team. I say in sports team, like, yo, let's bring it in. That's what we got to do. And that's just a very small example of what we really should be doing in America today.
I agree, and I would have definitely jumped in. This is just a little quick little story. This is something that happened when I was younger, and when I grew up in the projects. I remember these group of kids who used to pick on me all the time. This one dude who was part of a gang or a little small gang, he used to try to beat me up in the elevators when I was trying to go home, and eventually my one of my younger brothers and his buddies, they jumped him in the playground. And this is stuff that happens where I tell people, keep your hands to yourself. Don't cry, when you put your hands on somebody. And especially the reason why this situation hit me the most is because it was an older man. This man was probably, a couple years close to retirement. This guy, it wasn't no spring chicken. And the fact that they laid this man out and beating him up, choking him and all this stuff. Like you said, I could see you, I could see my brothers, I could see my other friends in that situation. I could see myself in that situation. And what can you do? I don't care how much of a, I know we both train, but I don't care how much of a boxing and all that stuff you are. If you can jump by, 5, 6, 7, 8 people, how much can you really do before, they take advantage of that situation? And, like I said, this situation could have been bad if they didn't help him. And truth be told, like I said, I really hope Montgomery, Alabama, I hope these people, especially the black people, get a slap on the wrist at least. Nobody deserves jail time for helping him. And some people might say, "Oh, mind your business." I know New York is notorious for that, and unfortunately,
a lot of people die. A lot of people
Exactly.
die with that type of mentality because, again, like, how can we say, like, I wasn't even going to use Black Lives Matter because I don't, rock with that organization. But how could we, really mourn the death of a black person knowing that we could have done something in that situation? You see what I'm
Right.
saying? So that type of mentality, like, yeah, well, my name's Bennett, I ain't even in it. When it comes to, us, that's not going to get us very far. And with the way that this country is going, we need to do something now. Like, something has to change now before it gets worse and worse and worse. I'm the only one that is like really starting to see things for what it actually really is, and it scares me. Like what this country might be 20 years from now. And if it's anything like what the last 10 or so years has been for black people, it's like, if we don't come together right now, things are going to be so much worse. And a lot of times people don't like to do anything to take preventative measures until it's too late. So we have to start now. Like somebody said, like the actor Malik Yoba, he posted on his Instagram, he was like, August 5th is like National Fuck Around and Find Out Day. I'm like, no, well, you know what? That should be every fucking day when it comes to black people in this fucking country. It shouldn't just be August fucking 5th, August 6th. You see what I'm saying? It should be every fucking day.
Yeah.
So again, like, we need to really just bring it all in. Like, I don't know if anybody's ever played God of War before, but when Kratos was attacking Mount Olympus with the Titans, fucking Zeus got all the gods of Olympus together, and he was like, let's put aside, the petty differences that have splintered us for so long. So we have to freaking, get past what separates us and focus on what will actually bring us together. And one of those things is situations like that. Because like you said, like, I'm getting involved. If I seen that, if nobody's getting involved, I'm going to get involved. And if there's a way, that I could throw some, punch combinations and not get in trouble, shit, some niggas would have been on the fucking floor. Some niggas would have been on the floor because I'm catching niggas with some shots and then I'm out of there. And I'm out of there because, again, like, I don't know how old, that black man was, but just the fact that he's probably in his 50s, 60s, there's no reason why he should be getting jumped by white guys that don't give a fuck.
Right.
So white privilege didn't help him out in that situation because, we're not having it. We're not having it. So black people wake, like, really look at shit, see things from a different lens. I know people are laughing, but stop laughing and just think about what you just saw. And then think about the things that you see and hear on the news all the fucking time. They saved his life. They saved that man's life. They saved his life. That's the real shit. Real shit. And now I'm just looking at it like, this is what needs to happen. So that's how, we reduce. Like, remember how I always say, like, when we get on here and we talk about, like, black people dying on quick takes, what do I usually always say? I'm like, man, like, it's only going to be a couple of months before we on here talking about this shit again. You know what I'm saying? And I said, at what point does it stop? At what point do black people collectively say enough is enough? This is the answer. This is the answer. You don't always have to be violent. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying you have to be there for one another.
Yeah. And before we wrap this up, I just want to say this: if anybody disagreed with what these people did, the black people did in the situation, look at it this way: whether you're black, Latino, any minority, if that was your father, your mother, your sister, your brother getting beat up, would you just sit there and record and I'm not going to fight them? I don't want to. No, and just because that's not your family doesn't make it right. I think it's time, like you said, and I think one of the reasons why this is such a big thing, people making jokes and putting out National Fuck Around Find Out Day, is because this doesn't happen often. Most of the time we fighting each other, but now we're starting to see that this is. I'm hoping at least this is a positive shift where people are actually starting to stand up for themselves, and especially in a place like Alabama, because they already know what time it is down there. It's not really siding with black people down there. So, shout out to them. And, I implore people, really look at these situations like it was your kids, your parents, your family. If that was you in that situation or someone you loved or cared about, would you just stand on the side and watch and record, or would you go in there and help?
Yeah, and I'm just gonna end it off with a few quotes by the late great Malcolm X. And y'all check out my questions for Malcolm X video on my channel. He says, "I don't mean to go out and get violent, but at the same time, you should never be nonviolent unless you run into some nonviolence. I'm nonviolent with those who are nonviolent with me. But when you drop that violence on me, then you've made me go insane, and I'm not responsible for what I do." And then he also says, "I don't even call it violence when it's in self-defense. I call it intelligence." You see what I'm saying? So it's not like we're over here just trying to beat people up for no fucking reason. That was self-defense. We had to go in there and save that man's life. And then it says, concerning nonviolence, it is criminal to teach people not to defend themselves when they are the victims of constant brutal attacks. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
I am for violence if nonviolence means we continue postponing a solution to the American black man's problem just to avoid violence. So people, y'all really got to think collectively. Like we got to bring it in. We're all the same people. So if especially our generation, it's like, if we want things to be better for the kids that we end up having, we got to do something now. Because the generation before us, they're on their way out. So they're not going to be around to clean up the mess that's going to start, spreading out here. And on that note, what are your thoughts? Please be sure, as always, to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Peace.